What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the reviews for this Ultimate Spider-Man series. My name is Cameron and this is issue 68. Now, the previous issue ended the saga of Spider-Man and Wolverine switching bodies, and this issue is going to be introducing us to the saga of the Ultimate Fantastic Four. And what I mean by that is, technically the Fantastic Four don't exist in the Ultimate Universe yet. They've only just gotten their powers. They haven't come out public revealing their powers to the world as the Fantastic Four. So that being said, it leads us to some interesting scenarios, and without further ado, guys, it's time to get into those scenarios. So let's get into this review. Okay, so the issue opens up joining the Fantastic Four in the Baxter building, and as I think I've already said if I remember, the Fantastic Four aren't necessarily the Fantastic Four yet. They haven't gone public with their powers, nobody knows about them, and right away, as soon as you start the comic, you get a brilliant sense of what Johnny Storm's character is like. He's just like in the movies, he's just like in the other comic books, depicting him as some really good looking guy who thinks that he can get it all because he can set on fire, etc. And to be honest, most of that is true. Like, I'm pretty sure being able to set your body on fire is a legit reason to become rich and famous, etc. But the comic also does an excellent job of putting across Johnny Storm's huge ego, but it kind of makes you like the character, because it's not like he thinks he's better than anybody else. It's almost like he just knows what he's got is good, and for me that makes him a likable character, and an interesting one. I also very much like the idea of putting Johnny Storm in a high school that is located in Queens, mainly because it's out of the way, and that kind of describes why Spider-Man goes there and why it's so good that Spider-Man goes to that high school, because it is out of the way and it's not necessarily a big high school to be going to. It's more low-key than what sounds like the rest of them. And for Johnny Storm to be going to a school like this kind of helps him blend into the normal people, very much how Peter Parker does, so we know it works. Now, when we first went over to the high school, we were presented with Peter Parker being tripped up in the hallway. Now, the reason this is really interesting is because the way he is tripped up is very reminiscent of when we first met Peter Parker in the Ultimate Universe in issue 1 of this series, way before he got his spider powers. And it was very nostalgic to see that once again, because it hasn't happened to Peter in a while, especially because he's more or less kind of friends with Flash and Kong now, so it doesn't really happen as much, but it was still awesome to see. As for this issue in terms of Peter and Mary Jane's relationship, I actually believe that this is the best Peter and Mary Jane have ever been in their relationship. And to be honest, I think Peter and Mary Jane's relationship and interactions between each other as characters is what brings this issue up into probably one of my single favourite issues out of the entire series in terms of just characters and how they interact with each other. Because all the way through the issue, there's like little hints that Mary Jane is married to Peter Parker, etc. just as a little joke. But you can see that she kind of loves it. Like, she loves hearing that. She likes being around Peter Parker. You can tell just by the way that they look at each other and the way she kind of brushes jokes off and stuff like that, and the way she looks after him. They really seem like a married couple, and it's awesome. As a fan of Spider-Man and as a fan of Peter and Mary Jane together, it's even better. And now that I think about it, honestly, I have to say that Ultimate Spider-Man's Peter Parker / Mary Jane relationship is probably one of my favourite relationships that I've ever seen in any comic book. Like, we are 68 issues in, and I still feel invested in the characters of Peter Parker and Mary Jane, and you feel for their relationship, you feel for the characters individually, and that is one of the reasons why this Ultimate Spider-Man series is my favourite series. Like, literally, I have every single comic book of this series in my comic book collection in a box right next to me. Anyway, enough of that. Going back onto what's happening on screen, I was very fond of how confident Johnny Storm came across with his interaction with Mary Jane. Like, he honestly did not seem shy at all, and it's not exactly surprising considering he is the Johnny Storm, soon to be the Human Torch of the famous Fantastic Four, and it definitely shines through his character. Now, moving on throughout the comic, I was very impressed with how this comic brought back up the death of Gwen Stacy, because as a reader, I almost forgot about her death, and this comic just kind of brought it up out of nowhere and shown you that Peter and Mary Jane are still struggling with this, and it's Peter struggling with it more than anyone else. Mainly because obviously he feels responsible because he's Spider-Man, etc., but that's just because he's Peter Parker. Also, another sign that Peter and Mary Jane's relationship is in a good place is the fact that they actually want to spend a ton of money on a fancy date just for the heck of it. But what I liked about that panel that was on screen right there was how Peter is constantly reminded that not being Spider-Man is a good thing, because technically it's not a good thing. He doesn't want it to be a good thing, and when Mary Jane brought it up, you could see it kind of brought him out of the moment of enjoying his life and just reminded him about the responsibilities. Something else about Johnny Storm's character as well is the fact that he doesn't feel the need to hang around with popular kids at school, because recently he's already been surrounded by people with superpowers. and so he doesn't have any interest in being around anyone that's going to attract any attention to him, especially when he's not known for having his powers yet. We also begin to reminisce all of the crazy things that have happened at Peter Parker's school, and honestly, it's a little bit unbelievable that we've got Green Goblin, we've got Harry Osborn and his family moving away, and a bunch of other crazy things that just don't seem to happen at normal schools. So in a way, it's like Johnny Storm has chosen like the worst possible school to go to avoid using his superpowers, and as this is getting brought up, we later discover that Johnny Storm is a huge fan of Spider-Man, and whilst all of this is going on, he actually catches fire and inevitably reveals that he can set his entire body on fire, and everyone is just in absolute shock. Now, I think it's better that he's surrounded by people that are used to superpowers such as Mary Jane and Spider-Man aka Peter Parker, but for the other guys, I'm not too sure, so we're gonna have to wait until the next issue for that. But guys, that is the end of this issue. What did you think? Let me know in the comment section below, because I'm going to be giving this issue an 8 out of 10. I do want to give it higher, so solely based on Mary Jane and Peter's relationship and how they bring the comic around and everything like that, I would give it a 9 out of 10, but I think I'll stick with an 8 just to keep it pretty average. As I've already mentioned, Mary Jane and Peter's relationship is awesome, and just the way that Liz is being pulled towards the Fantastic Four's Human Torch is awesome as well. And now, considering that ending, Johnny Storm hasn't actually revealed to anybody that he's got powers, so it's going to be interesting to see how he explains his way out of this. Like, will he continue going to school? Well, you guys will have to wait and find out. So until then, go to the links in the description to follow me on Twitter and Facebook. And now guys, I have also set up a Patreon account which allows you to support this YouTube channel, and you also get videos days early, you get other stuff like that. You should check it out, see what you can get. The link is in the description. And last but not least, if you love this YouTube channel, if you love this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you all next time.
Halfway up the Eiffel Tower, halfway up to space.